everyone, and welcome to Whose Life Is It Anyway? A show where everything is made up, but the points actually do matter. If any of that sounds a little familiar, well, that's because yes, this is an improv comedy podcast where all the stories you're about to hear were completely made up on the spot, guided and prompted by real improv comedy games. How does it work? Well, two players are tasked with having a podcast-like interview or conversation, making it all up as they go, but there's a third guest who can interrupt at any time and give them new rules or new directions for their conversation via a list of different improv games and guidelines. How do you win? Well, if a player breaks character or simply doesn't follow the rules of the game they're in at the time, the other person is awarded a point, and at the end of a 20-minute time limit, the guest with the most points wins, and of course, becomes known to the world as a comedic genius. So, without any further ado, let's find out who's making stuff up in this episode.
Let's do it.
Let's make it happen. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. And don't adjust your sets. Don't double check your podcast app. You did click on the right show, but it might be a little confusing as to who's sitting at this table. This isn't Honestly Same. This is Whose Life Is It Anyway? But it's a bit of a special episode. This is an Honestly Same special. Maybe this, what's a good name? Honestly, Whose Life Is It Anyway?
Same.
Is that a good...
The background's blue.
The back it's us, but the background's blue. That's right. You are correct. This is an Honestly Same special because joining me in this episode are my other podcast co-hosts, Brittani and Leah. Guys, welcome to the show.
Hello.
AKA welcome back to the table we sit at all the time to do Honestly Same. But now we're going to be doing something a little bit different because in this episode, the stuff we talk about, all the life stories and everything, it's going to be completely made up. So do you think you guys are ready for that?
Yeah, I'm going to be like way less good at it though.
You know, I love to lie. So.
You do love to lie. So you have talked about that on Honestly Same. So this is really putting your lying to the test because this is made for lying.
Yeah.
No pressure.
You just make a lot of stuff up. But of course, we can't do that until I give you guys some characters, some roles, and guidelines. So here's what is going to happen in this episode. Leah, this is going to be your podcast. So you're the host. Brittani, that means you're the guest. You are being interviewed. But here's the theme. You are a former original member of Mystery Inc. who has been kicked out for, I don't know, some reason. But you've been
hurts my feelings.
You know what? And we're going to get to the bottom of why it hurts your feelings in this episode. So yes, Leah, you have some sort of podcast, whatever podcast you want it to be. But your guest is Brittani. She was an original member of Mystery Inc. who got kicked out by the rest of the gang. And we're going to get to the bottom of it, hopefully, in this podcast interview. And we'll figure it out. And then someone is going to score some points. And someone is going to score, some less points. And there is going to be a winner and a loser. But, on Honestly Same, we all win. But here, it's a very detrimental thing to friendships because a lot of people leave here angry. So
Can't be worse than Mario Kart.
That's also true. That's that's the real test of this. I had them on to see if Honestly Same could make more seasons. We'll see how we really get along.
We should play Mario Kart someday.
This
or
actually
Uno.
might make us break up as a podcast, and it might render whether we have a season 2 or not. And you might have to reach back out to us.
That is through some very strange and crazy circumstances. Yeah. And who either people will, in classic us fashion, you will have either seen what those circumstances are by now, because I don't know when this episode is going to drop in Whose Life. So
fair enough.
We'll find out. But for right now, what we're going to find out is what the heck happened to you and why you get kicked out of Mystery Inc. So the game begins in 3, 2, 1. Leah, take it away.
Hello, podcasters. Welcome back to Dumped and Jumped, the stories that we tell about people that were dumped and then jumped. So, Brittani is my guest today, and she is a former member of Mystery Inc. That's right, the Mystery Inc. And after being left on the side of the road, out of the van, they took all her money, and we're going to talk about that today. So, Brittani, let's hear this story. We want to know everything that happened.
Yeah, you might as well refer to me as Scrappy Doo with the way that they treated me.
Wow.
Where do you want me to start?
The beginning.
The beginning. My birth?
No. Let's talk about how you met the Mystery Inc. gang.
Okay. Yep. I actually dated Fred back in high school.
Wow.
We all went to high school together. Me and Daphne had a little thing.
Okay.
And I actually worked at a PetSmart where they found Scooby.
Wow. So you had ties in all different areas of this group.
You would think that it was fate that we were together, yeah.
Yeah, but was there any kind of tension with the relationships that you had between both Fred and with Daphne?
Ultimately, I do think that was the downfall of the gang, with me included.
Okay, but I mean, to dump you on the side of the road and just take all your money, there had to have been some kind of issue, some kind of thing that abruptly happened, no?
Sure, I smacked Fred across the face.
Wow. Ascot, did it just...
It kind of wavered to the side, but honestly, he ties that really tight, so it didn't budge much.
I knew we were all wondering. So let's hear the story of how this began. What was the issue that you guys were having that caused you to get to a point where you struck him?
Absolutely. So we know that Fred loves to mansplain, right? That's just his shtick. And we were at a house solving a mystery, and he asked us to split up. And guess who he tried to pair me with?
Who?
Shaggy and Scooby.
Oh.
Yeah, and he was going to go off with Velma and Daphne like that was supposed to be okay with me.
And it wasn't.
Clearly, it was not okay with me.
You don't like snacks? Or like,
I don't like my situationships running off together and leaving me with scaredy cats.
Oh, yeah, and he easily could have put Velma with Scooby and Shaggy.
All right.
I'm going to pause us. It's time for our first game of this episode. Let's continue the conversation as we are, but we are going to play Fortunately, Unfortunately, where each of you must begin your next sentence with either fortunately or unfortunately, and go.
Unfortunately, though, it seems like that didn't really all pan out for you. So let's continue with the story. He split you guys up and something about mansplaining?
Yeah, so unfortunately, he split us up, and I can hear him in another room trying to mansplain to Velma something about her female anatomy.
Wow. Unfortunately, that happens a lot. I feel that that's something that maybe not specifically in the Mystery Inc., but in general, that men seem to think that they know what women's bodies are doing and how they work and all that fun stuff.
Fortunately, I heard this going on, so I ran into the room and put a stop to it for two reasons. One being, don't talk about Velma's body. She has nothing to do with this. Two being, you don't need to explain a woman's body to a woman.
Fortunately, then you were there to help. And did Velma agree with you coming to her rescue, sort of, or how did that play out?
Unfortunately, she wasn't very grateful for me stepping in and speaking for her.
Fortunately, though, it sounds like you're, trying to be a good friend in this situation. So I want to hear where things like kind of went south, to a point where it got like physically violent.
Unfortunately, that whole ordeal ended us back up in the van. We just didn't finish solving that mystery that day. And when we got back into the van, that's when stuff started to really heat up.
So unfortunately, you didn't get to solve this mystery. You were at odds with, your pals and your situationships. Do you think that this is part of the reason why Fred and Daphne may have ended up sort of having their own situationship eventually?
Unfortunately, that's what I've been led to believe by their many very successful shows since I've been left out of the game.
I'm going to call an end to Fortunately, Unfortunately, and give you each a point for that one. Great job. Let's continue back to normal with the conversation.
All right. So you're back in the van. You're real just tiffed, about this whole thing.
Change.
You're real pissed off about this whole thing. And Velma's not really even on your side at this point. Did you think, that you should stop and just kind of let it go? Or how did that turn?
So I was feeling very self-conscious about how everyone wasn't agreeing with how I was feeling about everything. And
Change.
So I was feeling very empowered to be fighting for myself. So I kind of carried it on a little longer than I should have, wanting to kind of be right in the situation.
Gotcha. So what they took from you, what we were told, beforehand is that they took your share for what you were supposed to be paid for that mystery that you guys didn't end up solving. Is that correct?
That is correct. It was a little under 2 million.
Wow. Wow. Can you tell me, was there a vote or was it pretty unanimous?
So there was a vote, but because there's 5 members excluding me and Velma was feeling horny, I suppose, it was 3 against 2.
Wow. Wow. Did Scooby like raise a paw, or how did he?
Scooby and Shaggy both were for me. It was Velma, Fred, and Daphne that...
I'm going to use a host power here. I'm going to freeze Brittani. And I'm going to go ahead and explain what Scooby did when we took this vote here. And yeah, so we're sitting there and everyone's taking their vote. I look Scooby right in the eyes and I assume that maybe Scoob has my back. I would sneak him extra Scooby snacks through each like mystery that we were solving, running around the houses and all that sort of stuff. And I thought that he had my back, but unfortunately he looked me right in the eye, raised a paw and said, "Right, Miss Bitch." And unfreeze. Brittani, continue.
And that one hurt. So what I did was I flung the box of Scooby snacks out the van, and that's when I lost all the votes.
Wow. Yeah. They are very attached to those Scooby snacks. That's how it seems. Can you tell me what they taste like?
Cinnamon and dirt.
Change.
Honey and grass.
Change.
Toffee and pebbles.
Well, now, was that because they were out in the road, or that's just what they tasted like all the time?
Personally, all the time.
Oh, so you're not a fan of the Scooby snacks?
I'm not. And I also think that was something that was used against me toward the end.
Pause. I'm going to interject with our next game here. We're going to continue the conversation, but we are going to do it with a specific number of words. Leah, you will get 5 words. Brittani, you will get 3.
Okay.
And go.
So then what happened next?
I smacked Red.
And what did he do?
Screamed very loudly.
And what did he scream?
What the fuck?
And then they left you?
Pretty much, yeah.
How did you get home?
Hitched a ride.
How far was the drive?
52 miles, approximately.
Did you get your stuff?
Most of it.
I'm going to go ahead and give you each a point for that one.
Like, we're going to move very slowly because
Yeah, that was...
we're both
Imagine
thinking
people like
very hard.
skipping through that.
Yeah,
to
they're
that part.
like, 15 seconds. Okay, here's her next sentence. All right, that game is over. Continue the conversation, but I want you to do it using an accent. And go.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about your experience with seeing all the success of this group after your departure from Mystery Inc.
I'm going to use the same accent as you, if you don't mind. I have just been gutted. Absolutely gutted since they left me. Seeing all of their movies, seeing Fred and Daphne on the screen, it's just been heart-wrenching for me.
Can you tell us a little bit about all the different there were movies, there were TV shows. Did you get any credit for your work?
That's a great thing to bring up because half the monsters you see, I solved the mystery, but they just cut me out of all the seasons. They had to do so much work to get me out of those.
I'm going to pause us. We are going to continue this conversation, but we are going to do it when we play If You Know What I Mean, where you can each only speak using a form of an innuendo, and go.
Are we still doing accents?
Uh-huh.
Okay. So was the van roomy, if you know what I mean?
It got a little steamy in there, if you know what I mean.
Pause. I'm gonna dub for Leah and help her out in this one.
Wow. Okay.
So, I'm dubbing. You gotta talk when I talk.
Okay.
So, can you tell me, did Shaggy have tasty Scooby snacks? If you catch my drift.
You're being a bit cheeky, aren't you? If you know what I mean.
So how did he get the name Shaggy, if you catch my drift? Keep your accent in mind.
He actually was very good at munching, if you know what I mean.
Brittani gets a point for that one. Brittani gets a point for that one. That one was great. While we're paused here for a second.
I was going to have to go. I was going to say something about doggy style. I was like,
I know.
ready.
I mean,
I said, don't bring up the dogs.
We can keep it going if you would like.
It's okay.
If you know
It
what I
probably
mean.
wasn't.
We are going to go ahead and play the game Whose Line, where I will disperse 2 secret lines that you can't look at yet to each of you that you must implement into your conversation sometime within the next handful of moments. Keep the accents and go.
So there was an article that came out about you in regards to, the Mystery Inc. and your departure. And one of the lines that was very stuck in my memory after this was something that Fred had said about you specifically. And he said, "Want to help me kill that guy?" And I said, "No, I don't." So he seems to be very angry still.
Honestly, that's news to me. I tried to not read about myself on the internet because the last time I did, the thing that I read said, we have to dig the body back up.
So they not only, let me get this straight, they not only threatened to kill you, but also there are rumors that you're dead.
It seems that way.
Wow, that is wild. Well, you know what they probably would have written on your gravestone?
What is that?
Remember when I had sex with that ghost? Because I think that was another part, that really stuck out about your partnership with Mystery Inc. was that time that you did have sex with a ghost. Can we talk about that?
I'm going to pause. I'm going to use a podcast producer power here, and it is now officially canon in this story. Brittani's character did often sneak away and have sex with the ghost too much, which is a part of why they eventually kicked her out. Implement that into the story and go.
I don't really get what the big deal is about that. It doesn't hurt anyone. It actually helps the economy if you think about it, because I'm not using condoms, right? There's not, okay, maybe not the economy, but the earth. There's not this wasted plastic and rubber, right? Because last time I used one, the pediatrician, and by that I meant pharmacist, said to me, "Hey, demons, it's me, your boy."
So what do you think that your pharmacist meant? When was she referring to the fact that you had sex with ghosts without condoms, or was she trying to speak to demons?
For me, it just sounded like she was giving me the okay, like that was a safe thing that I could do. And if my pharmacist / pediatrician says it's okay, then I don't understand why the gang has a problem with it.
How old were you when this all took place?
That's a great question. 25.
Change.
36.
Change.
17.
Oh, okay. So the pediatrician was just, you were still seeing a pediatrician at 17.
That's right. Just right on that ledge. Like, safe to have healthy sex, ghost or not, but still a teenager.
I'm going to pause us here. We are now going to play the game Alphabet, where I will assign you a letter to begin with, and you must start each of your upcoming sentences with the next chronological letter in the alphabet. We are going to start with T. And go.
Who's going? Me or
Leah.
Okay. There's a lot of speculation about your relationship with Fred and your relationship with Daphne and your relationship with the ghost. Did you have a favorite?
Ultimately, I think that for a long time I was really digging what was happening between Fred and Daphne. They just wanted to keep it a little singular.
Very interesting. And the ghost, so it was just kind of a fling?
Well, honestly, that was just for fun, yeah.
I don't know if I can.
That is a point.
Extra. X-Men.
All right.
Crossover.
Let's continue the conversation, but I'm going to pause us for just a second because I'm going to use another podcast producer power here to spice up the story. We've only got about 4 minutes left in the actual game for this episode. So what I want to reveal is that at one point in time, Brittani, when your character was still in the gang, something went terribly wrong when you uncovered who was underneath the mask of the monster, right? It was a terrible accident that actually left that person dead. And Leah, the reason you wanted Brittani on this show is because that person was a family member of yours, and you're here to finally bring that up to her and confront her about it after all these years. And continue.
So we really need to get into the nitty-gritty here because getting down to the wire and on time. But I want to talk about the big thing that I think was on everyone's mind when it comes to Dumped and Jumped. We'd like to know about the fellow who you had uncovered, but by taking his mask off, you had actually suffocated him by accident. So can we chat about that man?
So I think there's been a lot of misconstrued things out there in the media, as we know. I did not suffocate that man. I suffocated him, but it was a total accident. And honestly, I would err to the side of saying that it was Shaggy because he was supposed to be the one to take off the mask. And that was a big reason why we had this fight, is because why am I using my little delicate hands to take off this mask of this man?
So can you tell me what he was dressed as?
Yeah, he was dressed as the Michelin Man.
Change.
Yes, he was dressed as a scarecrow.
Change.
Yep, he was dressed as a mailman.
One more time. Change.
Sure, he was dressed as my kindergarten teacher.
So, did he have a mask on that looked like your kindergarten teacher?
That's right.
Do you think that you had any grudges against your kindergarten teacher that may have led you to accidentally suffocate that man?
No grudges. I swear, I know that people want to make my hands red for this incident, but I swear I did not know him going into this.
Well, I have a confession, because I did know him. He was my uncle.
What?
What? He was my uncle, and I loved him very dearly. Very, very dearly. And
Are you from Ireland now?
maybe. And I just had to get in touch with you and get your honest opinions on the situation. So you really do think it was Shaggy? You think it was his fault?
I do. It's hard to come out and say that because I'm going to get so much ridicule from this. Everyone listens to your podcast. But I do believe that he should have been the one to take off the mask. And had he done that, he would be getting the backlash that I'm getting now.
Pause. We're getting the last few moments of this show. Let's go ahead and play questions only and continue.
So do you regret your time with the Mystery Inc.?
Do you regret your time with any friendships that have flamed out for you?
Did you actually answer the question, though?
Did I not make it hypothetical for you to put yourself in my shoes?
Well, I guess my real question then is, if Mystery Inc. wanted you back, do you think that you would join?
Wouldn't you? The biggest mystery-solving gang in the world.
Have you heard of Sherlock? Have you heard of Nancy Drew?
What year were you born?
Are you trying to get cheeky with me?
Are you aware that although they don't claim me as part of the gang, that I am an important person as far as solving mysteries go, and I still, to this day, solve mysteries every day.
So do you have your new own company to do mystery solving then?
Why don't you give yourself a little minute to give me a Google?
Would you hold for just a moment? Well, where'd you look at that?
That wasn't a question.
I'm gonna, you know what?
Would you look at that?
We pretty much ended
That is a question.
at the end of our time, and I'm going to give you each a point for asking so many wonderful questions. So we are at the end of our game. And what a mystery that unraveled.
It's still a mystery, I believe.
It is kind of still a mystery. Also, that episode we left it on a cliffhanger. We don't
did.
know if you started a new Mystery Inc. of your own or not, or what it was called.
Yeah.
It seemed like it could have been. It seemed like maybe it wasn't.
She also didn't get to really exact her revenge.
That's
it was just
also
like,
true.
It
Yeah.
was just like, that was my uncle.
Yeah, and then you sort of just, and then enough questions were asked. You were like, yeah, let's get away from that. We don't need to talk about the fact that I murdered your uncle. Maybe you just didn't really care about your uncle. Who knows?
Well, and now I know I'm out to get Shaggy, I guess. So
That's true.
he'll
Speaking
be
of
my
Shaggy,
next guest.
for a bonus point, I'm going to give whoever wants it, one of you, this secret line from the Who's Line pile, to say something that Shaggy would say
Oh, this is going to Leah.
I'm
With
gonna do
his
it.
accent.
in a Shaggy voice. This is for an extra point.
Like, zoinks! The sexual tension between us is killing me.
You know what?
She gets the point.
That does sound exactly like
Yep.
something that Shaggy would have said, judging by how the rest of this
Yes.
went. So what's wild is I wasn't really paying attention to the fact that I just did that. And what just happened is
just tied.
that extra point put us into a tie,
Oh,
which
wow.
means it's time for overtime.
Bum, bum.
Bum,
Sweating.
bum, bum, bum,
Which,
bum,
I mean,
bum.
you know what? It is pretty sweaty in here. So here is what we're going to do. Since we left on a cliffhanger, I think this offers us a chance to make another episode and tie up some of those loose ends. So as we go into overtime here, this is sudden death. Whoever scores a point is going to win, and we'll play until we go. We're going to go ahead, and we're going to give a little bit of a reveal here. That not only did Leah have this whole like hidden murder mystery thing, you're out here trying to start your new Mystery Inc. So let's lead with that. You are starting your new Mystery Inc. You're going to try and talk about it. But we're going to reveal that Leah has actually just joined the actual Mystery Inc. And we are going to do that by playing Fortunately, Unfortunately as our first overtime game here. And go.
Are we still doing accents?
You know what? Yeah.
So unfortunately, our time is growing very short, but I wanted to let you know that I really appreciated you coming on so that I could have a lot of pointers as to what not to do as the brand new member of Mystery Inc.
Unfortunately, I think your mic is broken, and I think that I heard you say you're the brand new member of Mystery Inc.
Fortunately, we paid a lot of money for this stuff, so it works very well. That's exactly what I said.
Unfortunately for you, you don't know my friend Leah, who is a serial killer. And we will be contacting you soon.
Unfortunately, I think I'm going to have to report you to the authorities for that threat.
Fortunately for me, I work for the authorities.
Unfortunately, I did not know that. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Fortunately, after I was kicked off onto the side of the road, I ended up in the back of a cop car given my manic episode on the side of the road. That's fine. But they actually recruited me because they knew the work that I was doing.
Unfortunately, it doesn't really add up though, because you did say that you're starting your brand new own Mystery Inc. Is that correct?
Fortunately, it's with the FBI. Thank you very much.
Well, unfortunately, it sounds like the FBI just gave me a death threat, and I do believe that's illegal.
Fortunately, I can just wipe this from the record.
I'm going to go ahead and pause us there. And I mean, you each get another point. So we're still tied because you kept that one going so well. But now we're going to go immediately into, if you know what I mean. Let's bring the innuendos
God,
back.
I'm going to lose.
Let's go ahead and see who really, really doesn't want to lose this game.
So do you like working undercover, if you know what I mean?
It's got a lot of benefits, if you know what I mean.
Can you tell me a little bit about all the secrecy, that goes on behind the scenes, if you know what I mean?
You know, have you ever heard the term dirty laundry, if you know what I mean?
Have you heard of airing it out, if you catch my drift?
That is it. Sudden death.
Oh
It
my
came
God.
down
That was
to
very
it.
good.
Leah takes it home.
Wow. I never win that
Wow.
game.
That was very good.
Zoinks indeed, if I
Zoinks
do say
indeed.
so myself. Guys, how do you feel? I mean, your brain just fried, so I'm sorry
brain
about
did
that.
just fry, yeah.
Yeah, sorry about that. Hopefully we can get your brain working again in time for another season of Honestly Same. Unless it's already out, then you know that we solved her problem of her brain being fixed. Yeah, how'd it feel to make up something completely fake?
That was
Also,
a lot of fun.
that was actually, I gotta say, I'm proud of myself for choosing that one.
Yeah, that
because
was
I felt
good.
like that was a really good one. To
I
go
hope
with.
we did that justice because that was a really fun theme.
That was pretty
That
good.
was a very good one.
lot of sexual tension between the gang,
Yeah.
and the ghosts.
Yeah, there was. Yeah. Well, that's what happens.
And
when
your
you get-
kindergarten teacher.
And it turns out your uncle, Leah, your uncle was dressed as her kindergarten teacher
And apparently committing crimes.
in a haunted house or something somewhere.
It's true.
Committing so many
Just
crimes.
in like one of those knitted sweaters that has like the ABC.
Like Mrs. Doubtfire, essentially.
Literally. Committing so many crimes that a mystery-solving teenage gang was called on to the scene
Maybe he deserved it.
to try and figure it out. Wow. Incredible.
That's
Well,
the second time your uncle has been a problem for me.
Oh, yeah.
well, hey, just so people have context, we did another practice round of this. That was when that was
No,
also...
me and Leah's uncle are enemies.
In real life.
Yeah, in canon of the show. Yeah, Leah's uncle is serving a lot of issues and problems for Brittany over here.
It's a good thing I have a lot of them.
Yeah,
So everybody's
we're just-
good.
Many uncles.
It's not
who
like I
knows?
have one uncle at home that's just like, wow, what the
Yeah.
Hey, all right. Thanks. Well, Leah, you took it home. The final score was 7-6, a
Wow.
very high-scoring game
That's good.
here on Who's Life.
Wow.
So this whole honestly same Who's Life mashup, it made for a great story.
I love it.
So, guys, just in case somebody wants to check anything else out, like, I don't know, the other podcast we do, where could they find that at?
At Honestly Same Pod on everything,
Yeah.
I think.
Literally everything. Right now, wherever you're listening or watching this show at, Honestly Same is also there.
Yes.
And check out season 2 if it's out there. But also, thanks for listening to season 2 of this show. You can follow this show at Who's Life Pod. And guys, I want to play one last game with you as we tell the people goodbye. And that game will be one word at a time. So I want you guys to help me form a wonderful goodbye, forming a few sentences to tell our folks goodbye. So I'll kick us off. Zoinks!
We,
Loved.
Meeting
your,
Mom.
at
Bloomingdale,
Yesterday.
and
she,
Was.
very
good,
Looking.
when
I,
Walked.
down
the,
Aisle.
to
find,
Shoes.
because
my,
Brother.
took
his,
Wallet.
and
then,
Washed.
my
money,
Laundering.
plan.
down.
Stairs.
Thanks for listening, I guess.
Yay, we did it.